Few cultures placed as much importance on physical fitness as the city-states of ancient Greece. It's the reason everyone in the movie 300 is so ripped. Well, one reason: in pursuit of athletic excellence. The Greeks developed ideas and methods that are still remarkably applicable to the present day. Such fundamental fitness concepts as a proper warm-up and cool-down have their origins in the sandy gymnasiums of Athens and Sparta. While the dress code of the modern gym is a little stricter, the lessons gleaned from those ancient workouts are well worth a look. So today, we're getting our reps in on how the ancient Greeks got so swole. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, leave a comment and let us know what other buff boys you'd like to hear about. Okay, Hercules, let's go the distance. The first recorded Olympic Games took place in 776 BCE, when a cook named Charybdis of Elis won the only event of the Games, the station race, at about 600 feet. He earned the grand prize of an apple for his heroics. Hope it was at least a Honeycrisp. Over time, the Games expanded to encompass more events, including running, boxing, wrestling, a combat sport known as pancration, and equestrian events. The prizes also grew in splendor, as did the glory bestowed upon the victorious athlete. Ancient Olympic champions were crowned with an olive wreath and given a jar of olive oil. The decorative amphoras used to hold the oil were treasured works of art. The Panathenaic Games were held every 4 years in Athens and included team sports open only to citizens of the city. Each of the 10 tribes of Athens competed for cash prizes and oxen, whether it was for individual pride or the glory of the tribe. Greek athletes strove to compete in multiple games. Having a grand prize to aim for ushered in a new era of professionalism in athletic training. The pursuit of sporting excellence was both a strong incentive and a unifying influence in the Greek world. Calisthenics is a system of exercises using body weight to improve strength and fitness with origins in ancient Greece. The Greeks referred to bodyweight exercises as kalos stenos, which means beautiful strength. The term was revived in the 19th century by fitness enthusiasts with a keen interest in the classics. The advantages to bodyweight training are obvious. After all, there's no need for expensive exercise equipment. Mistress Gravity, your own pounds, can provide all the resistance you need. From the simple push-up to the advanced muscle-up, there are suitable exercises for all levels. And since there wouldn't have been many treadmills or dumbbells in ancient Athens, these techniques got the job done. The Greeks trained with ferocious intensity and focus, and few events captured the essence of going all out like pancreation, which was something of a precursor to mixed martial arts, but with even fewer rules. The sport's name meant all of the power, and very little was off-limits in this terrifying event. In Greece, only biting and eye-gouging were frowned upon by referees armed with rods to enforce the rule. But the Spartan version didn't even have those restrictions. The fight went on until one competitor gave in, or the referee ordered the contest to end. Philosopher Philo of Alexandria gave a vivid description of a pancreation determined by one fighter's will to continue. I already witnessed once in a pancreation contest a man who hurled blows with hands and feet, all of them well-directed, leaving nothing undone that might bring him victory, but who gave up, was worn out, and finally left the stadium uncrowned. The man being battered, on the other hand, didn't give in to the blows and broke the force of his opponent by the toughness and firmness of his endurance until he won the final victory. Basically, it was like that episode of The Simpsons, where Homer has a brief career as a professional boxer because of his ability to take a beating. Suffice it to say, those foolhardy enough to step into the arena trained for this event like their lives were on the line, because they almost certainly were. Pancreation was also harnessed for military training, and at the Battle of Thermopylae, the last remaining Spartans fought with their bare hands. Legend has it that after the climactic battle of Marathon, a Greek runner named Physiques ran all 26 miles to Athens to bring news of the victory. And that was right after he'd already run to Sparta to request the city's aid. Exhausted from running such vast distances, he announced news of the victory and promptly dropped dead. And that's the story of the first ever marathon. A sport so intense, the first person who did it dropped dead, which is why most of us don't run marathons. In ancient Greece, running long distances was for communicative rather than sporting reasons. There was no marathon race in the ancient Olympics. The nearest equivalent was the Delacos, where athletes covered the more modest distance of about 3 miles. Running had special importance for the Greeks, and even though women were prohibited from taking part in the Olympics, there was a festival in honor of the goddess Hera, in which women competed for glory in a foot race, and maybe a flag football game. The Greeks knew only too well the importance of never skipping cardio. So bear that in mind the next time you think about giving the elliptical a miss. For the Greeks, physical fitness wasn't seen simply as a lifestyle, but a civic duty. The city-states needed scores of physically fit citizens for protection. Philosopher and Bill and Ted co-star Socrates expressed his views on fitness in a lecture to a young man in poor physical condition. It is a disgrace to grow old through sheer carelessness before seeing what manner of man you may become by developing your bodily strength and beauty to their highest limit. But you cannot see that if you are careless, for it will not come of its own accord. Basically, don't waste your youth when you could be training for the NBA. Greek physicians took a keen interest in the training of athletes to better understand anatomy and the function of the human body. The sophist Philostratus wrote one of the earliest treatises on sports, Gymnasticus, some 2,000 years ago, the first ever physical therapy textbook. In other words, the fundamental idea of a structured workout, comprising a warm-up main exercise and cool-down, was first devised in ancient Greece, based on empirical evidence. The Greeks let it all hang out when they trained. In fact, the very word for gymnasium is derived from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. Gym class suddenly has a very different meaning. For most Greeks, only the men underwent physical training. The notable exception was Sparta, where women also trained in the buff outdoors, just like the men, which might explain why everyone was obsessed with working out. In modern times, it's not a particularly good idea to turn up at your local gym with just a smile, but the principle behind the idea still has some merit. If the Greeks could get in shape without any clothes at all, there's really no reason to break the bank for fitness gear. To build speed and power, ancient Greek sprinters trained on sand rather than hard surfaces. Sand was more difficult to run on, so the activity would develop muscles in the legs and build up aerobic endurance. Athletes also ran in full battle armor to add to the resistance, a practice that paid off handsomely when it was actually used in the Battle of Marathon. The Greek troops ran to quickly close the distance with the Persian infantry to avoid hails of deadly arrows from the archers. There are some key benefits to running on sand. For one, the impact on the joints is lessened by the softer surface. The instability of sand also has the benefit of recruiting smaller muscles, and the difficulty burns about 1.5 times the calories of running on a conventional surface. Digging the sand at the gymnasium floor was also a useful exercise favored by boxers. It's why they race on the beach in Rocky III. The apotherapia, or recovery, was an important part of training in ancient Greece. Athletes would first scrape the oil, sweat, and grime off their skin using a strigil. Next came a massage, and then a relaxing bath. The Greek physician Galen wrote of the benefits of both hot and cold baths after training. While Mr. Do No Harm himself, Hippocrates, advised athletes to walk after training to boost recovery. The ideas around the cool-down have stuck around for thousands of years for good reason. Ending the workout correctly helps prevent injury, regulate blood flow, and restore the body's temperature. Keep it cool, everyone. Legendary athlete Milo of Croton allegedly developed great strength by carrying and training with a newborn calf every day as a child. As the calf grew into adulthood and its weight increased, Milo grew a little stronger each day. When the bull was finally grown and Milo had reached superhuman levels of strength, he slaughtered and ate his training partner in a single sitting. So maybe don't spot the guy if he asks. This was just one of many fanciful stories of Milo's feats of strength. But for all his athletic prowess, Greco-Roman writers, especially Roman statesman Cicero, tended to view Milo critically as someone who valued brawn over brains. This next part won't do much to disprove that. Milo allegedly suffered an embarrassing demise when he tried to split a tree with his bare hands to show off his great strength. He got stuck and was properly devoured by wolves. Although artists preferred to depict the scene with a lion, which is weird, wolves sell way more airbrushed t-shirts. Regardless of your feelings on the strongman, the training principles behind the bull story are anything but bull. The idea of starting small and increasing the difficulty over time is a well-established practice in both strength and cardiovascular training. But feel free to use dumbbells if a calf isn't handy. So what do you think? Have you ever worked out like an ancient Greek? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.